Welcome to ComSpark. Today we're in Cincinnati, Ohio. My name is Eric Fox. I'm with Afidence, and I'll be your guest host today. I'd like to welcome our guest, Chris Ridenour, co-founder and CEO of Plantalytics.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being with us, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here.
So, Chris, thanks for joining the program today. Tell me a little bit about what has been the most satisfying accomplishment of your career, whether that's with Plantalytics or with Listener.
Yeah, I think it's actually just still being around. So there's a kind of this growing trend in the Cincinnati startup community that a lot of founders are kind of fading away back into kind of larger corporations, not in leadership roles. Because I mean, it's a drain on you personally, like emotionally, financially, sometimes physically, to do a startup. And so, I've been around since 2012 is when I jumped into the startup scene as the co-founder and CTO of Listener. In 2015, I did it again with a startup called Cosmatic that we ran for about 2.5 years, and ultimately had to shut that down. And then, kind of jumped around and still in the startup scene, kind of taking on leadership roles like CTO. When I talked to you guys last year, I was actually CTO of Cladwell. So I feel like I'm jumping around, but at the same time, like I'm still trying to stay in this space, in the innovation space. That's where my passion is. But I've seen a lot of people on the scene kind of join, the bigger companies, which is good. It kind of helps kind of refill the coffers. But it's easy to kind of like fall into that trap and not be able to kind of come back out. You kind of get the bigger house or the bigger family, and it's kind of hard to take that leap again. So
Plantalytics is an endeavor that you got into with your wife, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Plantalytics.
Yeah, so my wife is actually, she was a co-founder with me at Listener, and after that she kind of took a pivot into the farming space. And so she started growing.
Natural progression.
Yeah, of course. And she was working on other people's land and was working on other people's farms, and eventually decided she wanted to start her own farm. So we moved out back to the west side where I grew up and got 5 acres. And when she was starting her flower farm, noticed there was nothing out there for farmers like her. There was plenty of ag tech for automating your farm or for increasing the yield of 600 acres of wheat or corn, but there's nothing to help you manage how do I grow 50 separate varieties this season and actually make money, and help me understand when my workload's going to be, when it's going to be my busiest season, when am I going to need to hire help, how much I'm going to spend on labor this year. Those things, people talk about those things a lot. Those are concepts in the agriculture space, but no one's actually helping farmers come up with those. So most farmers don't have it. And we found that when we talk to a lot of farmers, if you really ask them on the spot, are you going to make $10,000 this year or $100,000 this year? A lot of them couldn't answer that question or even tell you which one they were closer to. So we really wanted to focus on how do we help farmers create these profitable and sustainable businesses? Because when you think about the food ecosystem, it's only going to get better if it's in more hands. And so these kind of consolidations of these mega farms isn't going to be good for our food system in the long term. And so we want to see more local farms, more local food, more urban farms, and we want to help these farmers succeed from the business standpoint because they already know the farming. Yeah.
So you guys are out there providing a business-aligned strategy to the small and local farmer who knows crops, knows what they can provide the community, but not necessarily understanding the analytics, if you will, behind what it is that they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, think about it, every farmer is an entrepreneur, but that doesn't mean every farmer has entrepreneurial skills.
Sure.
And so we want to provide them, we have this basically software as a service that they can come in and tell us about what they're growing, when they're growing, and how much they're growing, and we can tell them based on the region, based on the sales prices we're seeing, and based on what as our kind of average workload for this type of crop, for whether you're have a tractor or not, or using hand tools, we can decide, to help you decide what your labor looks like, what your cash flow looks like, are you going to be profitable this year, and help them make decisions based on that. So if they need to increase a certain crop, decrease a certain crop, hire more help, or make the decision to pivot entirely into something else, help them understand.
So your platform is helping these farmer business-minded entrepreneurs, as they are, make business-aligned strategies based on the software that you can provide, and it's an as-a-service model.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
a fantastic idea. It sounds like you guys have found a market that has since been untapped. And when I think of agriculture and technology,
Yeah.
not a lot of bleed over, but you do hear about GPS and crop yield and making sure that you can fine tune, I guess, some of the finer points of farming, if you will. But this is a different aspect to it. This is sort of looking at the other end, the if there is a glamorous side of farming, the non-glamorous side, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the reason most farmers fail. I think half of farmers fail in the first 5 years, and it's never because of market demand not being there. It's because things got in the way. They couldn't find the right funding. They couldn't find the right profitability. Something happened, and it's always a business problem. And so we want to help tackle that.
So how are you guys using technology in general to sort of fuel your initiatives and the ideas and the concepts that you guys have behind Plantalytics?
Yeah, so obviously we have our software platform, but it's powered by a lot of different types of data. So there's the data provided that you look at extension offices and universities are doing all sorts of things to help understand your local agriculture market, leveraging that open data to help farmers at the time when they need that data. As well as just, when our farmers come into our system and enter data, we're able to use that data to help the farmers around them. And farming is always an open community. The one thing we get when we talk to people at conferences and things like that is like, hey, how can I use you and this other tool that I like? Or how can, I get your data into this tool or their data into your tool? And so we want to be kind of conscious of that and help farmers, because that's what they're interested in. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like the listeners out there to really know about you guys, or if you can get one message out there, what would that be?
Oh man, that's definitely my wife's standpoint. She's the one who gets on the soapbox anytime we talk about this sort of stuff. I think it's really that our goal is to not tell farmers how to farm. It's to help them, they could figure out the business stuff if they had the time. They are an entrepreneur, they're a farmer, they're a janitor, they're every single job type you can think of on a farm. Most of these farmers are solo and they have to do it all.
Sure.
So they don't have time for this. And so we're trying to give them the tools to just have this managed for them, have the understanding so they can make better decisions. What we don't want to do is act like we know farming better than them, because we know that's not true.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys are well ahead of the rest of them in the pack when it comes to this endeavor, and definitely sounds like a great idea to me.
Thanks.
Appreciate having you out here, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
I would like to thank you again, Chris, for joining us on the program here today. For any of the listeners out there, you can find more information about us at comspark.tech. I'm Eric Fox with Afidence. Thank you.